is wealth, good for your health. This is the raw life.
Today I got one of my best friends, and just a great guy, but he's going through a tough situation, so I wanted to have him on the show because I wanted him to talk about this challenging situation, because there's so many people that contact me on a regular basis that are dealing with a loved one going through a disease. All right, everybody, here we are with Barretta, and he's going to be talking today about dealing with certain illnesses and how to deal with the situation, with the doctors, with the people, and so on. And he's going through a situation right now, so he's going to tell you about that. And say hello to the Raw Life crowd.
Hi, Raw Life crowd.
Wow, it's amazing. You're smiling, and on the outside, you look so content. And on the inside, we're sure you're content too, but most people wouldn't be in your situation. So why don't you explain what's going on and how you can remain so content during these times?
Oh, thanks, Paul. Paul and I go back a long way, old friend. Near the end of October, we took my wife to the emergency room, Wellington Regional. We thought she had a stroke. She was showing some neurological symptoms. It turned out she had 4 brain tumors that were pressing against nerves in her brain and causing the neurological symptoms. They kept her in the hospital there for about 3 days. Discharged her, told her to go to hospice, and she'd be dead in 2 weeks. Several doctors repeated that scenario. Well, Valerie's very positive. I like to think I'm very positive. And we came home, and it was almost a non-stop procession of friends coming by. While in the hospital, she probably got 35 or 40 bouquets of flowers and plants and stuff. Once we got home, thanks to Facebook, everybody came by to see her. She started doing a lot of research. She realized that she had options, even though they didn't present the options at Wellington Regional. Luckily, she got accepted into the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. She didn't want to go locally. She wanted to go to the very best. We found out at 4 o'clock one afternoon that we had an appointment at 10 the next morning, and Valerie said, no problem, we'll be there. We started looking for plane flights. There were no flights anywhere in South Florida or Central Florida that evening going to Cleveland, so we caught an 8 o'clock flight out of Fort Lauderdale, flew to Detroit, rented a car at midnight, got to Detroit, drove to Cleveland, got there about 2:30 in the morning, went to the appointment the next morning. What they have there, and it's all around the world, but the Cleveland Clinic is one of the 2 places in this country that trains doctors how to use it. They have something called gamma knife surgery. They just shoot 198 different gamma rays from different directions all toward the tumor, which each in its own is not very strong, but concentrated at one point, it makes it very strong. And it seemed to have gotten the tumors, because last week, 2 months later, I guess, when she had an MRI, it shows all the tumors had shrunk. And they found 1 new tumor, which is common. Normally you find many new tumors after that time. And tomorrow they're actually going to do gamma knife surgery on that tumor. And the doctors seem very positive. A possible thing after that is done is possible whole brain radiation, which would kill any small tumors or seed tumors that are still there. In addition to the brain tumor, when she finished the first gamma knife surgery, then she has breast cancer, which is metastasized and gone to the brain. It's also gone to the lungs, the bone, and the lymph nodes in the abdomen. So since that time, she stayed up there in like an apartment hotel, getting weekly chemo treatments. They seem to be doing well. But what Paul was asking about, now you have the background, Paul was asking about our attitude. I think she got out of the hospital on a Thursday or a Friday. I have a yoga center here in Lake Worth, Yoga and Inner Peace. And we had planned a Halloween party from a long time before, a costume Halloween party. And Ella and I were talking about it. She said, well, I want to go to the party. And we went to this party. And I put up pictures of Valerie and me on my Facebook page. You can go facebook.com/yogapeace if you want to see them. become my friend. And everybody was commenting that this was like 4 days after a death sentence by the powers that be in the South Florida medical establishment. We were both smiling and having a really good time. And Paul wanted me to talk about that. It wasn't a false smile. It wasn't a phony smile. Actually, just fast forwarding a bit, then I'll go back. About, I don't know, about a month ago or so, I'm not sure exactly how long, Valerie said, if I could go back and change things from October the 25th, I think, whenever it happened was, and make nothing happen, I wouldn't change a thing. You know, the eyes open up, everybody's looking, was this guy crazy or is she crazy? And actually, I wouldn't change a thing either. It's like, for Valerie and also for me, it was probably the biggest spiritual experience or awakening of our lives. Most people live in the future. And also they share part of that with the past. What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen next day? Or, oh, what was happening to me the last day or whatever. And suddenly with this apparently catastrophic event happening in our lives, we knew that all we had was right now, this present moment. There's no future, you know, and so we started living in the present, and we really did. So we went to the Halloween party. We're smiling and looking very happy because all there was at the time was a Halloween party. We weren't looking at the future. And we've been going through this step by step since your injury, of course, obviously, being human. We've had our weaker moments. I probably had more weaker moments than Val. Val has been pretty strong. And with my weaker moments anyway, my bottom bounces off the bottom several times and gets a lot of scrapes. But the frequency has been small, and the duration of each one has been relatively short. That's just the grace of God, I think. So, as things progress, we just keep coming back to this space, to right now. It's like people say, aren't you worried? Worry never solved any problems. Worry never helped anyone about anything. You can understand a problem and work toward it, but the worrying is just a negative energy that just brings you right down on the bottom again. But we're not worried. We took care of what each of us is trying to do what our duty is, what we're responsible to do. My duty is to support her and help make things work for her. Her duty is to do the best she can, you know, throughout the whole process. And most of the time, there's no time for worry because each of us has so much to do. We're completely occupied. She's been sick a few times in the past 2 months. She's been in a hospital once, emergency room twice. They say when you're getting chemo, you're supposed to, if you get a fever, you have to call your doctor or the emergency room doctor. The first time this happened, they admitted her to the hospital for 3 or 4 days. I wasn't there, her sister was there with her. And after several days of blood work, they found no bacterial culture, no bacteria in the blood culture. They were kind of perplexed at first, and then they realized the breast tumor had been shrinking. And part of the shrinking, I think the word is called necrosis, the tissue is dying. As the tissue dies, their hypothesis is this was creating a fever. And so with still having a fever, they let her out of the hospital again with a very heavy antibiotic, 5-day dose, and the fever went away in a couple of days. Unfortunately, about a week later, I think it was last Saturday night, I'm not sure, her fever came back. She called the emergency room. They said, come in immediately. She was there for 7 hours. They let her out again with a fever with more antibiotics. Now that the fever's gone. So there are a lot of bumps in the road. There are a lot of things that get you to question your faith in God and life and the universe, which is part of the human process. But what you have to do is continually, over and over again, keep bringing yourself into a positive mode, into a positive headspace. It's interesting. You have a choice. Whatever happens in life, you have a choice. You have a choice where you can let yourself slide down, you can grab yourself by the back of the neck and lift yourself up. And I know the response normally is, oh, that's not easy. So what? Who said life was supposed to be easy? I'm always telling my students in my yoga center, there's no growth in easy. And now I get a chance to plug that lesson into the USB port behind my right ear. Sometimes the lesson is quite bitter. But I guess because I've taught this for so long, because my teacher taught me this for so long, you know, it's starting to click. It's starting to make sense. No perfection, just growth, okay? Just hard bumps. But it works. Like I said earlier, you have a choice. Make the choice. Be positive. I always tell people, too, I always say, who knows what's better for you, you or God? Like the kids say now, duh. It sounds like a no-brainer. So if you really believe that, if you accept that God sends you everything you need, not what you want, then it makes it so much easier. Okay, and I was in this headspace as soon as this happened. I was mouthing it. I'm not sure if I was always keeping it deep inside philosophically, but I was mouthing it quite often. And I think I inputted it a lot. If you accept the fact that God sends you everything you need, not what you want, you know, this is the next step in your growth, in your evolution, or whatever. And this may sound morbid to some of you, but Valerie and I came to the same conclusion together. And we bounce off of it occasionally, but we're both okay with death. I think she's more okay with it than I am. I mean, whom do you know that's not going to die, huh? Everybody's going to die. Just some of us have more of an inkling of when it's going to be than others do. But, you know, okay, you accept the fact you might die. Or you might die sooner than you would like to die. You deal with that, and that's gone. And once you take that big weight off of your shoulders, it is really relief. It is really God sent. And it's surrendering to God. Paul, you have some questions for me?
Yeah, I want to know, I want my viewers to know that Valerie went through some health challenges last year or a couple of years ago, and you tried to do the natural route. She went to Hippocrates Health Institute.
Yeah.
She tried that. You didn't just jump right into, okay, something's wrong with doing chemo. You tried the natural route, and I have other videos on my site talking about, you know, you have to look at the situation and not just automatically say, when I get sick, I'm not going to do this or I'm going to do this.
I like that, Paul.
So can you talk about that a little, how you first you tried the natural route, and when that didn't work, you didn't give up hope. You said, okay, then let's do this. And just talk about how you came to the decision to do chemo, because it's not something that people with some type of health background just run to immediately.
I understand.
So,
I understand completely. That's an excellent question, Paul. She went to Hippocrates about 1.5 years ago. The program was difficult for her because she wasn't used to eating a clean diet, as are 99.9999% of Americans. I think she had a pretty good time at Hippocrates, but when she came home, she had difficulty following their program because it's very rigorous. I still believe in Hippocrates. We have another friend who's there right now with some other kind of cancer, and he seems to be responding well.
And tell everyone what Hippocrates is, the Hippocrates Health Institute.
Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach is probably the world's premier alternative health institution. And they teach you a lifestyle which conditions your body to be in a healthy mode. Their program is good, but how most people fail with their program is they don't follow it afterwards, or they start feeling better and they change. And I'm not saying it's going to cure everyone, but it was really too much for Valerie. And we probably wouldn't, she could have died and we wouldn't have known any better until she had these stroke symptoms, took her to the hospital, and we saw that when the doctor came out and he was going to get a consultant on the computer to read the video, to the brain scan to me. But after he saw it, he said, I don't need a consultant, and she had 4 tumors, 1 or 2 of them good size in her brain. And he said she may not live through the night. So what she decided to do, she knew that at that stage the doctors give her 2 weeks to live. No, an alternative method is not going to help her in that short time. Maybe not necessarily, but probably. It's not good. So she decided she has to trust conventional medicine, which she did. and so far it saved her life. We don't know for how long, but it saved her life, and she's doing better. When you're trying to help somebody, whether it's yourself or your family, you have to give 100%. You have to give all you can possibly give. Otherwise, you're not being helpful. You're really being selfish. You have to let go and give. Let go and give. So, whatever your thing is, you know, if you have a health problem, especially if you're dealing with someone with a health problem, you have to give 100%. You have to let go of your own selfish needs. You have to let go of your own fears and worries. Paul was telling me the other day, a lot of people who deal with their loved ones who are sick, because they get so upset into it, they get sicker than the person who's sick, and sometimes they die sooner. I understand that. But if you let go of your own selfishness, if you act from a base of love and caring as opposed from a base of fear, then you're going to be good for the person, okay? And one of the healthiest tonics you can ever have for yourself and ever have for anybody else is cheerfulness. End of story. It doesn't mean you're making fun of whatever is happening to the person, but you can be cheerful. And it's okay to joke. It's okay to make the person laugh. It's okay to uplift someone. Obviously, it's more than okay. Next question, Paul.
You said that Valerie didn't eat a clean, healthy diet previous to this happening. And do you think that was part of why it happened?
There's no question about it. She had, she had a high-end job until she got laid off in the construction industry. She had a high-end job with a lot of stress, so she drank a lot of coffee, which doesn't make the body healthy. She drank a lot of diet soda. She had a lot of caffeine. She had a lot of sugar. She had a lot of chocolate. All of which things make for a hotbed for cancer to thrive in, And so there's no blame or fault in any of this. Obviously, it's something she had to work out. I have to work out and so forth. But the lifestyle definitely contributed.
Now knowing this about the lifestyle, I know you mentioned that you wouldn't change a thing about the process of that she's going through now in the healing. But now knowing about the diet, if you had to change back then, starting to eat healthy, would you have reconsidered those things, knowing what you know now, even though you couldn't have known?
Interesting question. Obviously, I couldn't have known. Obviously, each of us thinks we're immortal. We're never going to die. We're never going to get sick. We're never going to blah, 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 or whatever. I did the raw foods again when she went to Hippocrates until we got to the Cleveland Clinic and visited a friend very loving, caring friend, not knowing I was 100% raw, served me cooked foods, and I thought the right thing to do was eat cooked foods. And now I'm steaming vegetables for lunch every day. And it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. It's easy to say woulda, coulda, shoulda. But it's hard to say what I would change until you're right there on the hot seat. You don't know what you're going to do. And it's easy. I can tell you what to do, Paul. I can tell her what to do. I can tell him what to do, right? Tell me what to do. Give me a break. I don't think it'll happen.
I know you're prayerful and hopeful that things turn for the best. How realistically, right now, from what you know, from a scale of 1 to 10, the signs of healing and improving quickly, where would you say that scale is?
Well, it's interesting because all we know are the results of the brain scan, which are very positive. The 4 tumors they zapped or have shrunken. We know from what the breast surgeon says about her breast that is shrinking. We don't have any other data to work with. But just to extrapolate, it seems logical that if the other things that work, and this will work too, she's also taken a mega supplement program from a guy highly recommended in Fort Lauderdale. She's also trying to do yoga pranayama, breathing exercises several times a day, which several people have attributed to healing their cancer. She's trying to stay in a positive headspace. So I would give it a 7 maybe 7.8, who knows. There's no way, it doesn't make it, see again, it's about being in the present right now. It's not about what's going to happen tomorrow or next month or next year. All we have is right now. All you can do is be the best you can be right now. All I can do is be the best I can be for her right now. Period. There's nothing else.
And besides the emotional part of it, and besides the prayerful part of it, what do you say to people out there that have loved ones that are going through these situations right now and are just in pain. What do you say about the pain? Well, how do you handle that?
Paul. Well, first of all, there's no way to just snap your fingers and change however you are. If you have the mental habits, in yoga we call them samskaras, if you have the mental habits of being fearful, of being painful, of being worryful, there's no quick answer to that. You know, it's like all they can do is try to develop a more positive attitude. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's like each person goes through whatever she or he has to go through in life for his or her evolution. There's no shortcut. There's no quick answer. God sends us exactly what we need, not what we want. So I suggest, prayer is always excellent, obviously. But the best prayer, sit down, the best prayer is, thy will, not my will, O Lord. It's like we think we know better than God. Oh, give me a break. God knows what's best. However you look at him, her, she, it, whatever. I don't think God has a gender. But it's like the best prayer is letting you surrender to God's will. And then from that perspective, putting as much energy into that as you can. And getting up more positive each day, and getting up each day looking forward to the next day. Not running or hiding from it. You know, it's a no-brainer. Another one of those duh moments. It's another thing that helps really well, but most people don't have the facilities to it. And if you practice yoga and practice meditation, practice some of the yoga breathing techniques, they're called pranayama. But then again, like this, like with anything else in life, whether it's a raw diet or whatever, it's not about doing it all in one day and then doing it again next week. It's about developing the habit and plugging this into your life.
And what about you personally? Have you used this as a wake-up call to start eating healthier and letting it motivate you to live healthier yourself?
In a way, I was eating relatively healthily before I was raw, before she went into the hospital October 25th. But it's become more of a wake-up call now because, interestingly, several years ago, my mother got very sick. I took care of her in many hospitals, and she almost died. And I went to the comfort food thing, the convenience store, the big bag of chips or whatever. And after several months, I developed the symptoms of diabetes, which after, 6 or 8 months of pills, I got off of through diet and a healthy lifestyle. And during this time, when I was in Cleveland for probably 3 or 4 weeks over the past couple of months, I was eating comfort foods again, nothing like I did with my mother. My blood sugar's going up again. I got back home, 5 or 6 days ago. I'm trying to eat better. My blood sugar's slowly going down. It's a wake-up call. But the nice thing is God keeps giving you more chances. God has this special software in his computer where he just keeps sending you these lessons. If you fail a lesson, the next lesson comes to you automatically through this autoresponder, okay? And if you fail it, God doesn't give up on you. God sends you another lesson. So you stop breathing, you get the lesson. So you can't use this as a put-off and say, well, okay, I won't listen this time. You'll send me another lesson, I'll get it later on. Well, as you keep avoiding the lessons, you keep skidding downhill. So yes, it was a wake-up call. A circuitous answer to an excellent question. Okay, go ahead.
Well, for people dealing with situations like this, not only those that are going through it, but people that their loved ones as well, can you give us and maybe describe in just 10 words the 10 most important words these people need to hear and think about and pray about?
Faith in God, faith in yourself, love, love, love.
Okay. And anything else you want to say to the people out there that are watching this before we finish?
Never give up. Never slide downhill. Don't let yourself go into a negative mode. And thank you, Paul, for making this video.
Now, Val has a blog.
If you become my friend on Facebook, I'm always putting links to her blog.
If people want to get in touch with you and get updates, you have a Facebook page. Tell everybody what that Facebook page is.
Facebook.com/yogapeace, one word. Or we have a website, yogapeace.com.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you, Paul. It's been a real pleasure.
All right, everybody, there it was. That was my good friend who's going through this tough situation, so please keep him and his wife in your prayers. But take what he said. You know, he's not sad and he's not mad and upset. You know, he's hopeful and he's happy because he appreciates life and appreciates today. And that's what we all have to do. So everybody, thanks for watching.
So, run life, brighten up your life.